Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply, and this video is to bring you a closer look at the Bommer. This is their part number F7000 31A in a 652 finish. This is the top pivot only for their 7112 series double acting pivot sets that you will very often see in quite frankly, you see them in a courtroom is where you'll see the 7112. You'll see them also in higher end, higher quality and caliber applications that require a double acting door when you're not just going to use gravity pivots or some sort of a loud clanking double acting spring hinge. This is just the top pivot only. And what we're doing with this is showing the top pivot only. This is the it's a two-piece assembly. We'll include the top portion for the top of the door as well. And what we're doing with all of this is a very interesting application where the client had a double-acting door, basically a 40-inch tall door, 3 foot wide, like the lower half of a Dutch door. They installed on it 3 Bommer 3029 8-inch hinges. That's a lot of hinge power. And the client said, hey, the hinges are not able to keep that door panel up in place. And I'm looking at the drawing of the panel, and I said, that it's half of a door. It can't be very heavy. Let's just say it's 75 pounds. Should be no problem. When I inquired from the client what was the weight, he's like, well, it's about 150 pounds. And I'm thinking, wow, what is this 1 3/4 walnut or mahogany door made of? Turns out they had a stone shelf placed on top of the door, so 2/3 of the weight of the door was sitting literally at the top of the door, and that was making it fail. So what we decided to do was I concocted, looking at the templates and sending it to the client, using a 7813 HD, a double-acting spring version, double-acting floor spring pivot from Bommer, because that door ran all the way to the ground. And what we really needed was to keep the top of the door anchored to the jamb, okay? And that's where the top pivot only from the 7112 came in. So we'll be able to positively get that connected to the top of the door, and there will be no propensity for the door to leave its vertical axis of pivoting at all. Okay, the only issue was the edge of the door. From the jamb to the vertical axis of pivoting for the top pivot is 1.5 inches. What it is for the 7813 HD might be 1 5/8 inches. So they will have to bring into alignment their vertical axis of pivoting so that it works correctly. Mortising, padding, whatever the cheating, moving something around, whatever the case might be is what they'll do. Whether or not they're going to leave the door square edge or radius it is something that they hadn't yet determined. It's shown as radiused. It's an existing door, so they may not get into radiusing the door, and that 3029 hinge would only require, of course, literally square edges on the door, so they might need to radius it, then refinish the door, or they're simply going to have to manipulate. Well, there's not a lot you can do. I mean, you're going to have to account for that door to get mortised around a little bit. You're not going to be able to move that or cheat that over. What they might do is pad this off the jamb and then maybe modify just the top of the door so that it can double act over here, just in this area where the door might otherwise hit this cast brass bracket. Okay, let's take some basic dimensional properties of this top pivot, and it will include the screws. You'll need a total of 5, I think. 3 for the jamb, 2 for the plate. This is the standard. I think this is an 8590 plate. This would go with that 7813. He'll already have one of these complete because it's the standard top pivot, along with the male version that would get mortised into the header of the unit. Overall height of the top bracket, about 2 5/16. Overall projection, looks like it's about 2 5/8. to the vertical axis of pivoting. Does indeed appear to be about 1 5/8". Maybe I had those two dimensions backwards. I don't recall. About 1 3/8 to the inside. Width of the plate looks like it's about 1 3/16. Okay. This should be nothing other than, I think, 7/8 of an inch diameter. Yeah. So this is just 7/8 of an inch diameter on 3 little holes. If you were to use a Forstner bit, 7/8 of a hole, just that thickness, which is, you know, maybe 3/16, 1, 2, 3, and you have a really clean cut on that top pivot. They will want to, of course, mortise this very cleanly, because in their application, 0.144, by the way, 0.144. In their application, they'll end up seeing, or have the potential to see, this preparation, whereas in a normal standard full-size door, you would never see this whatsoever. This is in the 652 finish. That means, okay, yeah. This is not cast brass. This is steel. I will show you the catalog where we will see the brass one. This would be 652. That means two things. It means it's made of steel, and then it means that it has a satin chrome finish over the steel. Okay, that pin can obviously be pulled out, and that's, of course, how you're going to go about installing the item. When you get the door in place, you'll loosen that spindle, you'll drop it in, and you'll be complete there. Now, let's take a look at the link to the product catalog that is down below here. Now, on the link to the manufacturer's page, we have a template, and that's going to be a reference to the entire 7112 model that's here. And of course, we are just dealing with this top portion here. You can see the back of it here, and then of course in elevation what it would look like installed. Okay. Like I was saying, they might need to cheat that a little bit, because they are definitely wanting you to radius that door edge over here. Okay, so that shows the dimensional properties of the item. If we kick over and look at the instructions, that would be, again, a document for the entire 7112. Okay, showing you the top jam bracket, your top pivot pin, and then of course your top pivot socket is what they call that. That's the business end of the entire unit. Now let's take a look at the product brochure for this item. Now we can get over to, and there is a link below this video in the item profile itself. It's not here now, but it will be there likely by the time you're seeing this video, to the product brochure, and that is, or product catalog, that is from the manufacturer's full line catalog, which you can get to from here at the link to the product catalog here. That will pull that document up, and that will go from this page and about 4 or 5 pages down the road. 7112 is the item that we're dealing with. That is a steel surface pivot shown here. We're just dealing with that top pivot naturally. If you want, and the point of the matter is there are variations on this as well, and those variations would be, of course, a clamp style that you see here. Clamp styles are not uncommon, not unheard of. They're going to give you, I would think, a more robust way by means to attach the door to the hardware, okay, rather than just that small top door socket that they call it. A lot of instructions or a lot of discussion on that bottom area. Installing the bottom spring portion requires reading the installation instructions first, because setting the spring, it requires it to be set and seated properly into its base here. Okay, splines are created in that bottom portion, so you need to be able to get that nice and straight when it goes together. We had also, I had mentioned earlier about this being made in brass. That would be the 7312. Brass versus steel is obviously going to give you not only a higher price tag, but a higher quality base material in the sense of the caliber of the finish that you're going to be able to achieve on the item. You're going to get a much higher caliber finish because you're dealing with a brass base material. A perfect example of that would be a polished brass unit. Polished brass plating over steel with a lacquer on it appears to be a bright brass finish. But if you take brass itself, highly polish it, and then lacquer it, you can tell that the brass base material yields a much more exquisite, elegant finish when you are working with that architectural base material. Okay, so lots of variations on these double acting pivots that are here, and they're all mentioned in the that link to the product brochure. So let's wrap up this video. So obviously in our situation, we have a custom hybrid requirement born out of a very unusual circumstance. My first suggestion to the client would be, well, the hinges are good, maybe just get rid of the stone shelf top that's on the unit. They didn't want to do that. So we opted for something that will handle the weight and will prevent the door from falling out, and here it is. Okay. What Bommer is very proud of, and I have personally been there. I have been to their location, both of them. What they're very proud of, well, they're very proud of many things, as they should be, but they're very proud of their plating capability. They can make 33 or 34 standard finishes. They have an entire structure dedicated to their plating operations on their material. And not only are they very proud about the quantity of finishes that they can produce, they're also very proud about being very green in their footprint. The water, the discharge from their plating plant, is literally cleaner than the municipal water supply when they're conducting their plating operation. Very, very proud these folks are. 33, 34, I forget the number. Different finishes. That's going to be base materials included as well. So, you can do satin chrome on brass, you can do satin chrome on steel like this item. So they're very proud of all of that, and I would suggest that you click that link below the video to the manufacturer's page, where you can pull up not only all of the Bommer products that we sell, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog. The name Bommer is synonymous with the double-acting spring hinge. It was indeed the brothers Bommer in about 1877 or so. I forget the exact year. They invented the product, and they have been in business for 150 years almost. The current owner at the time of this video is the husband of the granddaughter, and he's, of course, because of the year that we are in now, he would be considered, I suppose, senior. But it is a family affair in that regard. So another fact that they're quite proud of. It doesn't say here, but I do want to show you something. Yep. Doesn't say on that piece, but right above the Bommer logo, it says Made in USA. That's a fact that Bommer is quite proud of, as am I to represent them. 100% of everything that they purchase and manufacture is domestically manufactured. Domestically sourced and domestically manufactured. Another reason that they're quite proud of what they do. Again, as am I to represent them. Any questions on the Bommer F7000 31A in a 652 finish or any other Bommer product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you.